Welcome back, my friends. Today's video is probably caught your attention. Why would I call a video "Pain is a Good Thing" in dentistry? Because obviously from the patient's perspective, it isn't. However, from the business side, it absolutely is. Let's take a minute. We'll look at a typical business growth curve. Okay, we're going to flip over to the whiteboard for a moment. This is how a typical business practice grows. There is this period where we are growing steadily, things are going well, there's incremental growth year over year, and then we get to this place that you probably know where there is a plateau. And this plateau can last sometimes years. And often when I talk to dentists who are interested in what we do, they're stuck. I don't know how to grow beyond here, but I know I need to because my practice isn't growing. However, my expenses are. And my team is demanding raises, and all of these things are compounding where the dentist, the practice owner, is having to work harder to maintain the same income. Well, that sucks. So what can we do about that? So here's what happens. Along this typical growth curve, we get to this place of plateau. And you know that if you want to build muscle, you've got to go to the gym and you've got to do something. You can't just go to the gym and show up and sit down in the locker room and wait your half an hour, 45 minutes out and then go back in your car and go home. That's not going to do anything. You physically have to move. You have to actually injure your muscles on a microscopic level to grow. So there is a requirement for some pain in order to grow. You know that after you work out, you're a little sore for a day or two, and that's normal, and we understand that as normal because that's what it takes in order to grow. Your muscles will respond to that and then continue to develop and grow from there. This is what you want to happen. But in business, we don't want pain, right? We don't want difficulty. We want things to be easy. And this is the trap that many of us fall into. You see, honestly, the comfort zone that you end up in, inevitably you get to a comfort zone. Even if it's a place you don't want to be, it becomes comfortable because, well, it's familiar to me, right? So we call this retreating back to fine. It's fine. I can deal with it. It's okay. Another few years and, 5 more years. I can do it for 5 more years. I can do it for 10 more years. You're accepting where you are and just, relinquishing control of that, which I can't understand because I get it. I do get it. I shouldn't say I can't understand. I can understand because I've been there. And in that place, one thing that became glaringly obvious to me is you feel stuck and you don't know which way to go until something happens. And this is the pain that I was talking about. See, it's a stimulus response thing, right? Whether it's positive or negative. So we as humans make changes based on positive stimuli or negative stimuli, and I'll let you guess which one is more powerful, right? So we either move toward pleasure or away from pain. And well, you probably know, because this is pretty well-known psychology, that humans are driven by avoiding pain far more than they are seeking pleasure, okay? And business is no different. If I'm in a painful situation, I got to do something about it. If it's it's okay, I can deal with it, it's not enough for you to move past that. So what ends up happening is you retreat back to fine. You retreat back to good enough. This is good is the enemy of great, right? You've heard that, right? The reason why good is the enemy of great is because good is comfortable. Great requires getting out of your comfort zone, going to the gym, injuring some muscle tissue. I mean, not like injuring, but I mean, you've got to push some weight. You've got to do something in order to grow. You've got to actually get some pain in order to gain, right? Okay, just to be completely cheesy about it. Okay, now you get it. So this is the thing I want you to think about. There's always going to come a time, if you think back to all of your main pivot points or decision points in your practice life, there has been an issue, a specific pivotal thing that has caused you to act, right? And so something happens to you and then okay, this is what I want to do. I can't do this anymore. It just has to change. Like you have an employee, you want to do something about this employee. You've been putting up with them for maybe even years, and you just let it go. Oh, it's fine. Oh, they'll get better. or this is just how they are. And then eventually one day something happens and boom, you just deal with it. And then what do you say right after? I wish I did it 6 months ago. I hear this all the time, right? So again, comfort zone kills businesses. Why? Because you're wasting time in good, never getting to great because you're comfortable where you are, okay? So I want you to think about this. Now, if you go back to the business growth curve that I showed you, if we want to change, if we want to grow from here, what ends up happening? So let's say that there's this place we want to get to, okay? This place we want to get to is above the plateau, obviously. We want to go up from here, not down. But what ends up happening is once you leave the plateau, and this is what freaks people out, there's a dip. There's always a dip where your profitability goes down a little bit or things start to shake a little bit. You dip a little, and if you quit there and retreat back to good, retreat back to fine, what ends up happening is you never get to great. If you get to that point where things start to dip a little bit and you get spooked, you get scared, and fear takes over and wins, you're toast. You're now going to quit 2 feet before you strike gold, literally, and then you're never going to reach anything beyond that plateau. This is why so many people just build these real fancy plateaus for themselves, and that's just where they stay. They never get to great because they're unwilling to push through the fear that comes or that has to come in order to get through that. So if you want to get to that next level, you've got to be okay with the fact that there's going to be a little bit of a dip. Well, why does the dip happen before we go up? Because we're testing things, we're trying things, we're pushing, we're getting out of our comfort zone. We don't know exactly how to go from here to here. If we did, we'd be there already. So there's a time when you've got to push a little bit. You've got to figure stuff out. You've got to test, and you've got to do things you've never done before. And maybe you're not going to get it right the first time. And so there's this bit of a dip. And then eventually, if you keep persisting, keep pushing, you grow beyond that point. Now, I'm going to suggest to you that if you wait until you have this plateau, you have lost time that you cannot recover. My suggestion is to you to start looking for where you start to reach plateaus. When you start to reach plateaus, that's the time that I would intentionally get myself back into pain to keep growing. I wouldn't wait, see, because most of us as business owners, and I get it, it's logical, right? Like, it's so stressful, I'm tired, I'm exhausted, I'm just like pushing all the time, and then I get to this place where I'm finally cruising, right? It's like, I can breathe. And so it's like, I just don't want to mess with anything right now. But what ends up happening is you now have just settled into a new plateau, and you're going to stay there until you change and get back into pain. When you see that curve starting to level out and you're getting into another plateau, that's the point where you want to initiate another growth curve intentionally. So go back to the gym, right? Get some pain, figure out what area of the business needs to be worked on next through a strategic planning session with your team, whatever method you're following. And of course, we're going to teach you some through this channel as well. But go figure out what area of the company needs work first, and then go work on that thing. And that's going to put you back in pain because you've got to deal with some stuff you didn't want to deal with. You've got to, dust off things you were happy to just leave there collecting dust, and that will push you back into another growth cycle. If you don't do that, you're just going to end up in a plateau. And if in that plateau, the thing that it's like, you don't realize how long you're there until you step back and you're like, dang, what happened to the last 3 years? Like, we haven't grown in 3 years. And when you do the first thing, marketing company, we need more new patients. No, no. It's no. Okay, there's another video about that. There's a million things that need to be fixed in the process. But that's just like the first thing we think of, because it's like I'm panicking now. Like, I realize I've just lost 3 years when I could have been growing and I wasn't. And why do I get to that place in the plateau where now I'm irritated and frustrated and I want to do something? Pain. Something happened to you. You got caught on your heels. And I want to suggest this to you. This is super important. In a comfort zone, the danger is that you get put on your heels. Something happens in the market that you didn't plan. Now it's happening to you, and you're on your heels. You're just like, how do I react to this? What do I do? Whereas if you were intentionally initiating growth, you are now in control of what happens. You are in control of the direction of the company because you've got both hands on the wheel. If you're just like, got one hand here, one arm out the window, and you're just like cruising with the breeze in your hair, that's fine. But then see, if it starts to rain, then you're like, oh, you got to, put everything back together. And whereas if you're focused and you're like, okay, I know where I'm going, I know what's next, I know here's what I'm going to do when I get to this point, and you're continually paying attention, you're calibrating, you're course correcting as you go, and you've got your eyes on the prize, okay, you will not get caught off guard like that. Now, some things can happen in the world, obviously, but 99 out of 100, you will not get caught off guard where you're now reacting to external circumstances. You are creating your circumstances. And this is extremely important. I cannot stress this enough. You do not want to be in a position where things are happening to you. You want to be in a position where you are looking ahead, seeing what's coming, and pivoting and adapting quickly. Not just like, oh, I'm comfortable here, I'm going to wait until it gets too hot and I can't handle it anymore. And then I'm going to panic and do something irrational, which I should have dealt with a long time ago and done something proper and intentional. This is what too many business owners do. This is how people get basically shaken out in weak economies, because they're not paying attention. They got too comfortable. And so in your practice, I would challenge you, it's the exact same thing. If you're not leading the way, if you're not leading the charge, if you're not intentional about your growth, then you're just going to be subject to things happening to you, okay? Now, how do you avoid that dip that nobody wants to have? So already pain is a problem. I don't want to be in pain. Nobody wants to be in pain, neither do I. But again, this is how you grow. So if I'm going to have to, if I have to accept that I'm going to need to go through a time of pain in order to grow, and I should actually be looking for that. I should be looking for, when is my growth slowing down? When is my growth starting to level out? And do something about that. How can I avoid or minimize the dip that follows the plateau so that I can just continue on growing? And I'll tell you, how does anyone achieve success quickly? How does anyone shortcut the learning curve? How did I do it? Mentors. Find a model, a person who's done what you want to do, and model what they did. Right? This is how I built my practice. This is how I've built elite practice. This is how our clients successfully avoid the dip. They've found a model, which is our transformation program. They follow the process. They implement. They do their part. We do our part. They grow. They don't join elite practice to dip and then grow. They join and they grow. Now, you can do it on your own, of course. And if you do it on your own, there's going to be a dip. Most likely because you're going to have to figure stuff out that you don't know. You're going to have to create processes that someone else has already created. You're going to have to come up with marketing strategies that someone else has already created and tested, et cetera, right? So you can do it on your own, absolutely. But the price of shortcutting the learning curve is substantial, both in pain and in dollars, okay? So again, this is how it works in business and honestly in life too. I think you get that, right? You've got to get into pain in order to grow. And if you spend a little bit of intentional energy, going to the gym, right, getting in pain, you will grow. So I hope you found this helpful. And I would suggest after watching this, you sit down and you just think through where is my business right now? Where's my practice right now? Am I at a plateau? Am I in a growth phase? And if I've been sort of flatlined for a while, what am I going to tackle next? What is the area of my business that is giving me the most grief right now that I need to go and just put two hands on the wheel and figure this thing out? That will tell you. In fact, there's an easier question to ask yourself. And I've done this in another video. So if you didn't own your practice and you got out of bed today and you decided, I wonder if I should buy this practice again today, if I should buy my practice. See, every day you get up and you work in your practice, you've bought it again, or you've invested time and energy and money into that business. If you were to step back and look at your practice as an investor and you say, yeah, I would totally buy the practice again. Or if you say, if they would fix this, then I would buy it. Whatever this is, that's the thing to work on next. Hope you found this helpful. Have a great rest of your day. Well, thanks so much for stopping by and watching this content. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did enjoy it, please do subscribe to the channel, like the video, and if you leave us a comment, I do read all the comments. It does help us absolutely to steer the content that we create. So if there's something that you want to see more of, if you want me to elaborate on some specific point, or if there's just any feedback that you have, drop it in the comments. I do see them all. I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Have a great rest of your day.